I'll give you some background on today's special guest. State Controller Malia M. Cohen was elected in November 2022 after serving on the California State Board of Equalization. She's the first Black woman and the first African American to serve in this important role. She was elected to the BOE in November 2018 and served as chair in 2019 and 2022. As controller, she now serves as its 5th voting member. Malia is the chief fiscal officer for the state of California, for the world's 5th largest economy. The controller independently audits government agencies that spend funds, safeguards all kinds of property until claimed by the rightful owners, and administers the payroll system for state government employees and California State University. She serves on 70 boards and commissions. The only person I know that has more boards than Donna Lucas. 70 boards and commissions, chairs the Franchise Tax Board, and has a seat on both the boards of CalSTRS and CalPERS. Prior to being elected to the BOE, Controller Cohen served as president of the Board of Supervisors for the City and County of San Francisco. She was born and raised in San Francisco and attended public schools there. She received her bachelor's degree in political science from Fisk University and a master's degree in public policy and management from the Carnegie Mellon University. She and her husband reside in San Francisco with a very adorable and precocious daughter. Though she's just about young enough to be my daughter, I saw her come in, I am in complete awe of Malia's accomplishments, her tenacity, her commitment to excellence, and especially her energy. And I am absolutely honored to call her a friend. Now, here to interview Controller Cohen is the consummate professional, Ms. Edie Lambert from KCRA. So please join me all in welcoming them to the stage. And we're supposed to pose first.
Oh,
hi, darling.
Thanks.
How are you? You're welcome.
Good.
Come on over.
Hi. It's been such a long time.
I know, it's been too long. How are you? I'm going to see you do now. Thank you. You get in the middle.
Oh, perfect. And then I'll keep it.
And then you use this, yes. Make you look as young as her. You go.
Hi, everyone. How are you all? Good. I know. Let's loosen up. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Controller Cohen. And I just want to start out with, I think the question you probably get a lot is what the controller does. And I started this question with my own 2 girls over the weekend and just asked, do you know what the state controller does? And my 10-year-old says, yeah, he controls the money, the state money.
He would be half right.
If you think about it, her entire life we have had a woman in the job of state controller, and yet she still said he, which I think is so interesting. And my other daughter said, no, it's controller. He controls everything, which I thought was delightful. So let's just start out with, do you control everything, or what falls under your umbrella?
Well, good afternoon. I go in and tell you, when I left San Francisco, it was so cold, which is why I'm wearing a sweater dress and boots. And then I get up to Sacramento, and it's like summertime up here. Women are like short dresses and open-toed shoes, so I can't control the weather. That is for sure. I cannot. But first, I just want to recognize SheShares and Ms. Torlickson, who I've had a chance to know for a couple of years and have watched this speakers series just really begin to take root and grow. Congratulations to you. This is absolutely incredible. Giving women an opportunity to share their platform and experiences is phenomenal. And thank you for inviting me to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, Edie, to answer your question, first of all, we have to let the girls know that she's a he. No, that he is not a he, that she is a she, and my predecessor is a she, so that I am the first African-American woman to be in this space, but not the first woman. There's actually been a good history of women that have served as a state controller, and So the state controller is a state government office. It's a constitutional office, and you're absolutely right. It is in charge of controlling, but you're controlling finances. You're controlling money. So I am keeping an accurate account of how much money is being spent, is leaving the state of California's coffers. And so the state treasurer is actually the other side of that coin. You see that theme there. The other side of the coin, the treasurer is responsible for bringing money into the state coffers and investing that money. The treasurer is in charge of writing the checks. So it is actually fun to be on the writing of the side of the accounting ledger. But you're generally overseeing the budgets, audits, and oversight, general practices, making sure that the money is being spent where it's supposed to be. If there is any fraud, we're going after and prosecuting and rooting out fraud, because we want your tax dollars to be protected, don't you? You don't want it to be squandered and thrown away. The other thing is we also oversee some different programs. Unclaimed property is a phenomenal program. Have you guys heard of unclaimed property? You guys watch Good Morning America? I mean, like, we've been featured on it like 3 times now. Unclaimed property is we have about $13 billion in our, under our protection, if you will. So if you lost your money, or you quit your job and they were sending you a check, or maybe you were in an apartment and you put a deposit down and you moved out and you never got your deposit and the banking institution has lost track of you. What our job is to reunite you with that money. So that money remains unclaimed under our tutelage, under our jurisdiction, until you come out and claim it. And the way you claim it is simply just going to the website and going to claimit.ca.gov. To claim that money, and it's a phenomenal program. And then we also help seniors stay in their home by helping them pay their property taxes as well.
And we'll talk more about tax issues. That's been such a big part of your career. You did mention that you are the first Black woman to hold this job, first African American to hold this job. And I do like to ask trailblazers what it's like. I think different people have different experiences of what that means, and what has that meant for you?
I've never been asked that question. What does it mean to me? Well, when I was running, it didn't mean anything. You know, it was something that was never at the forefront of my mind. I don't even think I realized it until someone said it to me when I was in the process of being sworn in.
Well, you were running to do a job,
right,
not to represent.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. And then you make it, but you also understand what it's like to be able to kick down the door and inspire other people, helping people to re-envision. So I see myself really in this place being on a team of women that are redefining what leadership looks like. And you might see it in your respective organizations. You might see it, I'm sure you see it on television, right? You see the diversity, you see more women being included, you see more women commenting on sports issues, things that have traditionally been male-dominated. So I don't have a lot of distinction in that respect. I think that there are a lot of women doing a lot of things at this particular time. I think that this is a sign of the time, and that is not to say that our allies should be afraid or feeling intimidated, but that the face of leadership is definitely changing, and that we have just as much to bring to the table. We, being women, have just as much to bring to the table. Yeah, and sure. Life and your lived experiences matter. Absolutely. So we can tease that out further in the future conversation.
I have lots of questions for you about that exact thing, but I want to just bounce off you saying you kind of kicked down the door. Like, you've been doing that the whole time I think we've been watching you. Like, no, your election in San Francisco, you came up through ranked choice, and it was like, who is that? Who is that even? Your race for the Board of Equalization, like, I'm not sure how many people expected you to do, as well. And you were running against a high-profile person. And so you've done it and done it and done it, kicking down those doors. I guess my question for you is, what was it in you that said, you know what, I've got this, I can do it? And then you did it.
Okay, these are real questions. These are like, and I didn't see them beforehand, so I am speaking from my heart, and not from my mind. So there's a certain naivety that happens when you're running for office, right? You of course you think you can do it, but you don't realize until you're like in it that you realize, oh, this is really hard. This is real, and there's a lot on the line. A lot of money, a lot of time that you're spending away from your family, spending away from your business, or whatever the things that you like to do. And so you're doing it because you believe that you have something to contribute to a larger conversation, and I firmly believe that. Now, I got this idea. It was a totally radical idea that I could run statewide office with a 6-month-old baby, still nursing, up and down the state of California, coming out of, not quite even coming out of the pandemic. So that's the naivete that I speak of. Like I loved it, I wanted to do it, and I wanted to step up, and I wanted to serve California in that way. But if someone had told me, or if I had told myself, like what it really takes, I might not have done it. And that, to tell you the truth, is almost the formula for some of the heavy, even legislative things that we've taken on. Sugary beverage tax in San Francisco, 2014. If I had known how hard it was going to be to convince people to do something that's in their best interest, I don't know if I would have done it. So, but it's the thought of, like, I believe that having sustainable food supplies and clean water is important. I believe that adding sugar to your diet by drinking a soda is not good and not in the best interest for public health. When I think about how much it was costing people on the back end of taking care of themselves. So, and also seeing African American Latinos dying at disproportionate rates for preventable diseases. Okay, I was like, okay, enough is enough. Let's go ahead and do this. But you never realize how hard it is until you're actually getting into it. So I hope I have inspired you and not have dissuaded you from getting involved and rolling up your sleeves, because I think anything worth having is not going to be easy. And they are certainly not going to hand it to you if you are going to be busting through stereotypes and breaking ceilings and taking names while you do it.
Because this is a political crowd by and large, I do want to ask you just a couple quick kind of political things, starting with our budget deficit. We know the lawmakers have a plan, the governor has a plan, but you're the one who has to write the checks. Like, they can say, like, well, I still have checks, and you're like, there's no money in the bank.
Yeah, so they can't only go so far. They can't really get ahead of me. So when it comes to the budget deficit, it really has to, it's more like style, right? We know that we're going to end up with a balanced budget. The dance is, how are we going to get there? Who's going to feel the pinch? Who's going to be feathered a little bit? And so that is for the legislature. My role in this is saying, okay, legislature and Department of Finance, i.e. Governor Newsom, this is how much money we have. This is what is projected to come. And to be fair, the legislature has their projections. The governor has his projections. I will say that our projections are usually more right. So that is definitely a point, and I think in the SCO's favor. But the SCO is important because it's nonpartisan. This is really a position that is just watching the money, letting you know what you have and what you do not have. We actually have enough money in our reserves to pay our bills. When I say our bills, I mean pay our state employees, to pay our retirees, to honor all the commitments that we have. So we have done a lot of very smart and prudent financial planning, thanks to Governor Brown, who really pushed that rainy day fund that many of you probably voted for or don't even realize it, but you voted for it anyway, because it passed overwhelmingly. But allowing us to save money when we were in good times really has saved our hide during this really precarious time. And this is the other thing, is budgets, they fluctuate. Think about your own household budget. Sometimes you have a little bit more money, and then sometimes you have a little bit less. And so you're constantly doing a balance on paying attention to where the money is flowing. That's exactly what the Comptroller's Office is doing, but for hundreds of billions of dollars.
And let's talk about your job as an independent fiscal watchdog. When I was talking to my daughters, by the way, I said, yes, controlling the money and also protecting our money, such a big part of it. Waste, fraud, and abuse is just one of those things that we hear in every campaign. I was on the press for Schwarzenegger when he was going from stop to stop, like rock star crowds holding a broom, and promising to sweep out the waste, fraud, and abuse. So as you have looked for those things, is there anything that you would want to talk about that has been identified, or do you think that is there not as much of that as people would lead us to believe?
No, sadly, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And so one of the things that I campaigned on that we are actively implementing is marrying where your money is being spent with technology so that you can see where these dollars are going real time. You can know who the vendor is that is making the Assembly's sexy little t-shirts with their names on them. Who is doing that and how much are they paying for it? That is the granular level that we are trying to get down to. We want to know exactly which nonprofit organizations are serving the homeless community. When you think about how many billions of dollars that we have spent in homelessness. We are also in charge of the big reporting and large reports. Without getting too into the weeds, there's the book of record. There is also, what's the other one called? The book of record. And the ACFR, thank you. The ACFR, which are these two very major projects that I have inherited, but my goal is to get this information to the public in a timely manner. For the last 6 years, the Controller's Office has not been reporting out these financial reports accurately, yes, but not on time. These reports are important for businesses, for them to begin to focus on their forecasting and so that they can plan to do business and continue. So these are technology projects that are moving forward. I want to talk about waste and I want to talk about fraud. So last year, there was a state employee that was in my department, an unclaimed property that actually stole some property. And we got it on camera. We did a full-on investigation. The CHP went out to his house and arrested him, seized a lot of information and lost property that was stolen. And then it was the Sacramento District Attorney's Office that began the prosecution. So this is another example of how it's actively going off after and prosecuting.
Even in your own department.
Even in my own. Painful. Oh, no one. Listen, I'm not playing. I'm treating your money like my own money. You steal from me, you better run and hide because I'm coming for you. And that's the same way that you do want your controller to behave. There was another deal, another partnership that we worked with the San Diego District Attorney's Office, who said, hey, we have put together this outstanding case where we have found tens of millions of dollars that has been stolen from taxpayers and have been funneled through the charter system, charter schools. Long story short, charter schools get money, but they have a different requirement when it comes to reporting. They were fraudulently saying that they were serving children. And what's even more heartbreaking is that they said they were serving Black and Latino students. And they weren't. They were flat out lying so that they can get money to enrich themselves. The district attorney in San Diego put together a phenomenal case. We prosecuted. We got back most of the money. And now we are moving forward across the entire state to make sure that we are rooting out this level of deception. I mean, we all work hard for the money. I don't know about you, but I get up every single day to work for those coins that the California gives me. And I squeeze them out in the form of taxes and I give them back. But understanding that this is what's fueling our roads, our libraries, our public schools, these are institutions that we are all relying on to be fully funded. And so we don't have that kind of room to just be willy-nilly on these dollars. So those are examples of really being very serious, leading a task force to ensure that we're rooting out all of this crime that is related to the charter schools, but also setting that standard, saying this is not okay, and we are not going to tolerate it, and we are not going to just keep a blind eye to it.
While we're talking about procurements, I know that you do a lot of Work inequity, this is just one of many areas, but 25% goal for all procurements made by your office that they go to small businesses, micro businesses, those owned by Black, Indigenous, others of color. Thank you.
Yes,
yeah. And what I think is powerful is maybe in the media portrayed as little businesses are so great for the state. So it goes, you know, back
It goes
both ways.
Yeah. So what you were talking about, and I'm glad you brought it up, I'm a policymaker at heart. I look at problems, I think about ways of how we create a policy, how we can get it passed. Either we're going to the voters or we're going to the legislature or we're going on the local county level to solve our everyday problems. And for the most part, that system works. What the hard part comes is when you have elected officials that don't have the heart, or in many cases, the balls, to implement what the law has already been passed. And so Governor Newsom wrote this law, or the legislature wrote this law, the governor signed it last year, saying that anyone who's doing business with the state of California, these departments have to set aside 25% to help support, you know, the communities that you spoke of. But no one had done it. No one. So when this was brought to my attention, I said, oh, well, we're going to do this. And we have hundreds of millions of dollars of RFPs and projects and contracts waiting to be rolled out. And we are actively looking. California, it should not just be a talking point that we speak of in May when it's Small Business Awareness Month, about how small businesses are the backbone of the state of California. We say it all the time. I know you hear it. But yet, we're taxing the hell out of you. We have onerous rules and regulations that you must comply with. And what do you actually get? To do business with the state of California, it's very difficult, the process to get certified, to get on the list. So let's begin to streamline that. Let's be intentional about what projects we're putting out on the street, and be intentional on where we are advertising. So for me, that means making sure that we're not just advertising in English-speaking only publications, that we are speaking in Spanish, and that we have multiple languages, and that we're meeting people with where they are. Because again, one of the key talking points during Small Business Awareness Month is how minority-owned businesses are the backbone. Yeah. So I really am in a place, and I find myself in a wonderful position to make sure that not only are you working for California, but that California is working for you, and that you have access. One of my fundamental core values, and you might have heard me say this before, is I do not believe you need a lawyer or a lobbyist to interact with government agencies. You make a phone call, you should be able to reasonably expect a phone call back. That is where I am training in my department, and I hope that it catches fire to all of these departments. I hope. Thank you. Because access to information should not be just limited to those that are connected and those that are wealthy.
And can understand it in
the
language you can find online, which, it's tough. I do want to give you a chance to talk about the California Personal Finance Initiative, which we will all be voting on, right? Yes. Okay, and the importance of this is helping high school students actually get a little bit of education about finance, which is such an important thing as they to the world, but we don't get any of that.
I know. This statistic is staggering. Only 1% of high school students graduate with a formal course in financial literacy. How many people graduated from high school with financial literacy, a course? You can be proud, Cassandra. You probably went to private school. She did. All right, let me talk to the public school kids. I'm a public school kid. You're right? Okay, so you're one of the 1%. No financial literacy. Can you imagine that? I don't know if you are parents or you have loved ones in your family, but we need to change that. Everything from the top down will change in the state of California when we begin to educate people on how they can be better with their money. So there is an initiative that is coming to the ballot this November that we are voting on. For those of you that are connected to the teachers in the state of California, don't worry, they're neutral. You know what I mean about the politics on that one, okay? They're neutral. We worked really hard. Last year, Kevin McCarty introduced some legislation that was actually killed, and that was to change the requirement to add a standard that teachers would teach their students, usually in high school, at least one semester. It didn't work, but we didn't get discouraged. We actually organized and are collected signatures this year, submitted them to the Secretary of State's website. They were validated, and now this initiative is headed to the ballot. And this is important. It needs to pass because this is going to be a game changer no matter where you are, whether you're in the Central Valley or whether you're out of Los Angeles or you're here in the northern part of the state of California. This is critical. So please seriously look at it. I'm not going to ask you to vote for it, but I am going to let you know that I am voting for it.
So as controller, one of the things that I just can't get my head completely around is serving on 70 boards.
I can't get my head around that either.
70 boards and commissions, which is like... questions, though, is you had talked about bringing your kind of lived experience into different roles, and you are bringing a different kind of... I mean, the mother of a toddler is now serving on these boards and commissions. That is a voice we have not heard and has been at the table, and so that's just part of it for you, what you're bringing now to these conversations and to these high-level decisions. So if you can talk me through that.
So it's more than just sitting on these 70 boards and commissions. When we're talking about changing the game, we're talking about it was a woman that wrote legislation that said you can spend your campaign funds on child care. That is what allowed me to be able to run statewide with an infant. These are the kind of policy initiatives that begin to change the game when you will start to see more women, particularly women that are childbearing age and in child-rearing years, so that you no longer can say, I don't have anyone to watch my child. But so think about that when you are doing your own events, your own corporate events, providing some child care in some way. It will change the type of person and the quality of engagement that you have. And so, what was your question? I really got it.
Yeah, you're speaking to it. It is the importance of bringing
a
different
experience.
perspective.
Okay, I remember.
And you're exactly right.
Yes.
It's not going to be, sorry, but you know, people who don't come from that experience, you're not going to even think to add a provision for candidates that will enable a working mother to do the work.
Do you remember Tammy Duckworth? She's a United States Senator, one of the first women. She's a combat veteran. She had her child via surrogacy when she was first elected, and there were no women's bathrooms in the Capitol. Can you imagine? Of course you can imagine that. You live in America. You can imagine it. You can imagine that. But there are still systems and things that are vestiges of old yesterday. And that's why we do need more women, and we do need people of color to begin to change how the business is conducted, to change how we're thinking. And we need our male allies, many of whom that are in this room right today, to also be paying attention and saying we might need to tweak this, particularly if you are raising daughters and you are raising the next future generation. And so sitting on 70 boards and commission, my first job is I'm looking at things largely through a fiduciary lens. Are the dollars and the cents adding up? Does it make sense? Are we spending our money wisely? Are the general accepted accounting practices being followed and adhered? Are we reaching out to communities of color? When I think about, I sit on CalPERS and CalSTRS, which is about a $760 billion fund that deals with retirement for teachers and then for state employees. So I'm asking these investment managers, how many women do you have on your board? How many women are asset managers? And where are they in the hierarchy? Who are your decision makers? What's going on? And so because I'm in a position, they obviously want our business, right? So we're going to make them work for it. That's how we're going to start to bring about that incremental change. And so that is 70 boards and commissions. I have been able to clone myself, and I have some staff that I have imparted my infinite wisdom into, and so they know what to look for. They know what questions to ask, and so I'm able to move in that way. But this is consistent, like this is who I am. These are my beliefs. It doesn't matter if I'm in office or out of office. I'm always going to be looking to bring more people to the table, not less.
I do want to go kind of back to, kind of where leadership started with you, and I want to talk about your family. Being the oldest of 5 daughters, I think would require strong leadership. But let's start with 3rd grade. You've talked about a Mrs. Nicolosi putting you on the path to public service and a field trip to City Hall. So I would love to hear about that. And also, with your work, kind of controlling and reining in sugary beverages, I'm wondering if back in the day you were all for them. If your 3rd grade self wanted more of that.
Yeah, I love soda. Orange soda was my favorite. First of all, Edie, congratulations to you to getting down to Miss Nicolosi's name.
Oh, thank you.
That was one of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Nicolosi. She was a powerhouse. She was not only a woman that inspired me, but she was so sassy in her dress. She wore high heels to school. I mean, like, she was just, I loved her. And she took our class on this tour of City Hall and in San Francisco, which is a beautiful, majestic building. Those of you that have heard me spoke maybe have heard me reference it, because that was the point when I realized that I wanted to work. Well, I just wanted to work in the building, to tell you the truth. I didn't really know what went on in the building until a few years later, but I was just like, how wonderful would it be to walk up these marble staircase and to work in this beautiful building with it's gorgeous. But those are the little things that inspired me. Another point of inspiration was Dianne Feinstein was the mayor of San Francisco, and she's very briefly spoke over my 3rd grade class talking about how public services was the best job she's ever had, and maybe one of you would like to run for office. Powerful. And then I got into high school and I did informational interview, and I had an interview with a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, a gentleman who was so weak and unimpressive that I literally walked away thinking, I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. And so that was like 15-year-old Malia. I'm like, he can do it. I know I can do this. Just wait, okay? And so those are like 3 moments in my early life that I can really go back to with such clarity that points to how I got down this pathway. And, you think about it, it was an educator, it was a mentor that helped guide me and shape me. So if you find yourselves in these positions, it's summertime now. I hope you have interns around you. I hope there's some interns even in here in the space now. But these internships, even the bad ones, have valuable lessons. And not all of my internships were great and meaningful experiences. Some of them were like total waste of time, and I was like, why? Then I was like, well, at least I got paid. Always being practical. But we should be exposing people at every opportunity, even if it's ugly or an uncomfortable experience, because we have to be able to be equipped to deal with uncomfortable conversations, to be able to disagree without being disagreeable, to say no and to stand your ground when you were the only one in opposition. And these are things that you don't really learn in high school. Hopefully that you learn them throughout the course of your young adult life, that you will be able to employ them when you get older.
Yeah, powerful to be able to watch people who do that well, and you just soak it in, like, oh, that's how that's done. And SheShares is so committed to mentorships, and they create formalized mentor associations and relationships. So did you say you have one strong mentor? Did I hear that right? Or
at that time, I actually have several women that are around me. Some of them have passed on, because generally they've been older. It was like my campfire leader, one of my campfire, what are they called? Not a coach. Counselor, thank you. And, that was an interesting period in time when we were learning about leadership and the environment. And here I am, out of the 70 boards and commissions, I'm sitting on the environmental protection. I'm a steward of the state's resources, paying attention to fracking, paying attention to offshore wind, making sure that we're paying careful attention and respect to the indigenous communities that these natural resources actually reside in. And that really goes back to when I was 7 years old and camping in like Calaveras County. So, there are real pivotal moments that have shaped me. So you mentioned being the eldest of 5. Now, if you talk to any of my sisters, they may have a different story, right? They say I was always bossy and controlling. I like to think that my leadership skills were under development, okay? It was like raw talent when you're like, you know, picking out an anniversary gift for mom and dad. But to be fair, that still was a natural leadership position. I mean, to this day, I left the house. I had 2 younger sisters at my house, one working from home and one lives with me. Yeah, I'm going to be a big sister for life. I am a big sister for life, and I will always help them and guide. But now these sisters that are with me now are not the same ones. There's 2 other ones that would be a lot more harsh and critical. They're the ones that call me the bossy, the cow. Kathy and Marlena are so much younger that they don't. I was driving by the time they came around, so for them, I am their ticket to freedom. I was working and I had money, so we were going to McDonald's and Sbarro. For those of you that went to the mall, okay. So like our dynamic is a lot different. Jennifer and Erica, you know, we kind of came up together, like 2 and 4 years apart, so we had a lot of strife and fights in the bathroom. Could you imagine going to high school and seeing your sister in your clothes? I mean, like, that is the level of leadership training that I came from. Jennifer would love to wait for me to go to school, and then she'd be walking down the hallway in my clothes.
We had the same.
Still gets me.
The screaming in the high school hall, take that off.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Those are my jeans.
Yeah. No, take them off. So I wanted to ask you about Jennifer, or Dr. Cohen. Yes.
She is good.
A scientist.
Yes.
She's an advocate for underprivileged kids in
is.
STEM. She's just amazing. And recently taught a class in equitable and inclusive leadership at Haas Business School. And she names you as one of her heroes.
That's when we were speaking. Just kidding. Just kidding.
What have you learned from her?
Okay, so Jennifer is, okay, there's 5 of us. There's Jennifer, Erica, Marlena, and then there's Catherine, okay? And so Jennifer is the one that is like my best friend. She's 2 years younger than me, so she's, you know, the first sister, the one I've known the longest. She went to Howard for undergrad. She earned a PhD from Johns Hopkins University in molecular and cellular biology. Yeah, she is legit smart and a scientist. As a matter of fact, her research around COVID actually helped bring about the COVID vaccination. Long story short, her large claim to fame. What did we talk about, Jennifer?
Well, it sounds like we're hearing it, but what you've learned.
What did I learn from her?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have learned from Jennifer is the power of rest. Jennifer is very good at setting boundaries, particularly with my mother. No, Mom, I'm not going to church on Sunday. I need to rest. I would never think to say that. Even though I'm tired, I still would drag to church. But Jennifer is very respectful about boundaries. She's very thoughtful, and I think it has to do with her training about inclusivity. She works in the space of diversity, equity with Stanford University. And so she has taught me the importance of rest, to not feel guilty, to not apologize, just to take it. And that even, there's a book out there that says rest is resistance. Read it. It's a good read. But that rest is so much a part of our life, and oftentimes, particularly at women, we are socialized to take care of the house, to take care of the kids, to excel in our career, that there isn't enough give and grace for ourselves. So that is one of the most recent lessons that Jennifer has given me. She'll send on the family text line, she'll send a prayer or some kind of an inspirational quote. She'll send something that she found on YouTube. So she sends it all. She helps keep the entire family grounded, and she's great at keeping mom and dad in check.
Just how about a round of applause for rest and self-care? I want to get on that text thread. I want to leave time for questions. So, Tamara, where are we time-wise? And I have so many more questions, but I also want to make sure you all have a chance to. 5 more minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions. Okay, perfect. While we're talking about family, of course, I have to ask about Miss Madison.
Yeah. And Edie, girl, you done your homework. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to recruit you. I'm going to find a project for us to work on.
Thank you.
Yes.
But from what I understand, you pick her up.
I do.
You are the one. What I know about that, because I have the privilege of picking up my girls too, is there is only one time only one precious time when you say, how was your day, that you're going to hear how it was. When my husband gets home at 6 and how was your, it's fine. But when you are the one who gets to pick up your daughter, it just, it informs so much. And my question is, that is, again, shaping who you are and what you're bringing into not only your, day job, but your 70 boards and commissions. And so, that doesn't happen by accident. You're busy, so you've made that a priority.
I have made it a priority and will continue to make a priority. Madison will be 4 in September, and you never know what you're going to get. Like this morning, the outfit that we had laid out last night, she decided she woke up, she did not want to wear it anymore. So, it's like a real negotiation because you're like running against the clock. But pickup time, and sometimes I do drop off as well. Pickup time, it is special because we get to have snack in the car and we're talking and we're debriefing. And the question I always ask her is, what did you do today what did you do that was brave today? How were you brave today? And it's like, oh, I climbed the structure today, or I shared my stuffy with Harper. Harper's like her friend. He's such a cute little boy. He's a sweetheart. Or there's a Malcolm. She and Malcolm like to play. They have an imaginary game that they play together. So I'm living and hearing about these exciting things that are happening in her life, and it's intentional. Of carving the time out, making sure I'm not in Sacramento, but I'm back in San Francisco picking her up. And sometimes I will tell you, I have a CHP detail, so Madison is like that kid being picked up by CHP detail. But, we had an all-school sing-along just on Friday, and I was there. So was Officer Whitney Howard. But I use this is like almost like a teachable lesson, right? In order for us to start to change people, to change their mindset, they really have to see it. They really have to be able to visualize and see that this change is happening. Madison gets picked up and dropped off with a CHP detail about 85% of the time. And her friends know the officers. And normalizing that I have a job that I go to that requires me to go out of town. But the intentionality comes in when it's our time, whether it's dinner time or whether it's quiet time in the morning. I have... This may be too San Francisco, and don't think of me as bougie, because I'm like not, but I do have some bougie tendencies that I have acquired over the years, but also very much in the San Francisco spirit of like prayer and meditation. And so taking 5 minutes of Madison and I doing a meditation. By the way, Madison is still growing in her practice because she doesn't quite know how to not talk. But I keep bringing her back to her breath. And that is just quiet time that we're just spending together. Sometimes it's in the rocking chair. Sometimes we're sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor until my hips and knees can no longer take it.
Yep.
But it's that level of specialness. I was an older mom. I had to go through IVF to conceive. And so not only did I spend tens of thousands of dollars to get her, but there was time when I would be traveling the state of California with my hormone injections. I don't know if anyone has ever gone through that process. So being very intentional about this little person, this being, then bringing her in, nursing her. I nursed her for 18 months. Again, that means I was on the airplane with a little pack of milk, or ice packs, packing along the milk because when I wasn't home, I had to express it. And so it's truly a labor of love, but it has not been an easy path.
And again, it has informed, it informs how you work. And you're now informing the people coming up behind you how to do the work. And so, first of all, to the point of asking, what did you do today that was brave? Thank you for being here. It's hard to put yourself out there, and thank you. And all the other acts of bravery. I couldn't even get to, there was a Fox News host who suggested you be arrested for sticking up for a San Francisco policy, and it's just, you've
That was
just...
O'Reilly. That was actually one of my better moments.
Tell me, I want to hear it.
The O'Reilly factor. I don't know. San Francisco's always in the news for something. And I didn't even know how I got on the clip, but, I think it's out there somewhere, just Malia, Cohen, and O'Reilly, and then you'll see I was defending, what was I defending? DACA, right? Was it DACA?
It was Sanctuary City.
Sanctuary City, San Francisco Sanctuary
Yeah.
Cities. And he said that I should be arrested and thrown in jail. And boy, my fundraising went up. I'm not even gonna lie, it was a gift. But even on the campaign, when I was running in 2022, having to always constantly prove myself, right? I'm clearly the most accomplished and most experienced, but yet I was treated and framed in this race that I was a novice and that I was a long shot. And so this has really been a long-term struggle that I have just grown into ever since I ran for office in 2010. I was a long shot then, and here I am almost 15 years later, and still considered to be a long shot. But now I just own it. I'm like, yeah, bet against me. Go ahead, I dare you. Bet against me, because the odds are still in my favor for these positions and service. And I think that one thing that constituents know and they understand and they feel is that it's real, it's authentic. I'm living the same life and the same experience as you. I am touched by inflation just like you. I am making my pennies stretch just like you. I'm getting up, taking my kid, juggling just like you. I like to work from home too, just like you. So there is no real disconnect. In my background, I've had a foreclosure. I talk about that all the time, what that means. In my background, I know the importance of financial literacy. I didn't grow up talking about diversified asset classes around the dinner table. Some of you might have. We talked about delayed gratification and savings, but we didn't talk about putting in a high-yielding interest-earning yielding account. So, there's certain things that I have learned along the way that I want to make sure that I'm paying forward to our future generations. And I do believe that the state of California will be in a better place once we are all better educated and more knowledgeable. Thank you.
All right, let's open it up to some questions. And please
thank you for coming.
Identify yourself as you ask your question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Edie, and nice to meet you, Malia. First, I want to say thank you for signing my tax return check. And second, my question is related to a book I read called Everything is Figureoutable. And there's a passage that talks about how if you don't share your unique gift with the world, you're going to be stealing from people around you. And if you don't share it, it'll be lost forever as well. So on your journey up to controller, can you tell me about a time where something was figureoutable in your journey?
Where something was what?
Figureoutable?
Well, everything is figureoutable. I think everything is figure out whenever there's a problem. I actually don't like the term politician. I prefer either public servant or problem solver, because that's in essence what we are doing. We are elected to solve major problems. When I was on the Board of Supervisors, I would solve problems like my neighbor's bees keep pooping on my car, to, kid you not, to illegal search and seizures by SFPD, and or coming around with creative ideas when it comes to police reform, and working with the police union, and working with the more conservative voices that are in San Francisco, and finding that middle ground. So I do believe that there is an approach, and also timing matters too when you're solving problems, because the people may not be ready to receive your message. We passed sugary beverage in 2014, but Scott Wiener, State Senator Scott Wiener, who's a popular name, tried to get that measure passed in 2013, and it failed. Of course, my approach was a lot different and more inclusive, and had people of color as the focus, not myself. But timing, I think, also really plays into how you solve about the problems, and then also surround yourself with other people to help solve the problem, because you won't have the answer in yourself. All right.
Controller Cohen, thank you for being here.
That is a great blazer.
Thank you. That's why I stood up. No, I don't really have a question. No, I wanted to recognize Kathleen Brown, who is here, who is a true trailblazer, who I think was the second woman treasurer. Is that right?
You should stand up, Kathleen.
Yeah, stand up, yeah. Ran for governor.
And a San Franciscan.
Yes. So we're happy to have you here. And again, thank you for being here. And thank you for acknowledging
Oh my God, that was
jacket.
it? Okay. Yes. Great suit. Kathleen Brown is one of the women that I spoke of earlier whose shoulders I'm standing on, who was doing it but when women weren't doing it. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You gave a very prime example of a issue of waste and abuse in a charter school. However, we know there's a lot of really good charter schools that do educate children, especially those of brown and black students. So I just want to know, are there any similar examples you have of waste and abuse in any public schools?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Waste and abuse. So that's an interesting question. I haven't necessarily found waste and abuse, but I have found poor management. Poor management. So the state controller's office has the ability to either invite themselves in, or a school district can invite us in, and we can take a look. We do an audit and take a look at of where the resources are and how they're being allocated. And I'll use the San Francisco Unified School District as a perfect example. The the superintendent reached out to me. They were having some payroll challenges and with technology, and we were able to come in and give some advice just to strengthen and put some guardrails around their the generally accepted accounting practices. So my example had to do with charter schools, but it doesn't mean I was singling out charter schools. Anyone else? Any last minute? Don't be shy. Okay, last one.
Thank you so much for your conversation today.
You were so animated. I could tell when she liked something. I could tell when she agreed.
Many things I've agreed with. Margaret Gladstein, I have a question. How do you think AI will change your job and how the state of California operates going forward?
That is a great question. I actually called for a hearing at the Franchise Tax Board about AI and how it's going to be, how, believe it or not, I didn't realize this, but it's already been being implemented. So out of the 70 boards and commissions, one of which is also the Franchise Tax Board. I chair that body. And you guys know the FTB, right? You write your checks on an annual basis. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So the AI is, the technology is being used to weed out human bias when it comes to information, when it comes to receiving information or assumptions that humans make when we're dealing with taxpayers. So that is just one example that's real time that AI is being used. When I think about other places, I could see a lot of positives around having artificial intelligence complement human thinking. I don't think it should substitute, because even how, you know, people can vote by mail, people can take polls by a phone, there's still something that will never be substituted than that human interaction. You get a feeling, we have a connection. You either like me or you don't, you know it instantly. And AI can enhance what you already know, but it can also call our attention to where our biases are as well. So I think that our approach should be very smart. I do hope that the legislature is doing a better job than a Congress when it comes to creating the guardrails and the parameters on how we are going to be utilizing AI in our life. Also, there are different various forms of AI. There's like 4, I think, main ones. You think you have Alexa as one version, ChatGPT is like just another example. But it's also a resource that I see even my daughter using. She's always asking Alexa for something. Alexa, play this. Alexa, play this. Alexa, it's amazing how.
Does she put candy on the shopping list?
No, she actually hasn't put anything on. She's not that sophisticated. She hasn't thought about that, no.
I'll go to the, market and it's like candy, 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 candy.
Really, no. Yeah. She figured out that Alexa can play one of her favorite programs. So I'm tight on the screen time. But when she figured out Alexa can play PJ Masks, man, it was a wrap. She was so excited and proud of herself. And then had the nerve to say, "Don't tell mommy." But just an example that we do need to be mindful about the future generations, right? These young people that we don't want them, at least I certainly don't want my daughter to lose how to interact with people. That is human nature. That is who we are. And I don't think that any artificial intelligence will be able to supplant that. It may come close to it, but we'll never be able to replace it.
And thank you, because that was one of the questions I couldn't get to. Thank you for your time. I know you're in the middle of a busy day. We appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to SheShares. Have a great rest of your day.